Hey folks, welcome back to West Yorkshire Retro Gamer. It's match preview time. Now, I haven't done one of these since the West Ham game. I've not been so well last couple of weeks, and then obviously there's been an international break. So it's been a while since I've done one of these. I'm not going to delve into the stats very much on this one. I'm going to keep this as brief as I possibly can. So, going straight into it, we'll start with the away team. The match has been played at Elland Road. So the away team is Aston Villa. They've got off to a decent start and find themselves in the top half. Albeit the start to the season wasn't that great for Villa. They were, I think they were hovering around the relegation zone for the first 2 or 3 games, but they've picked up since and got themselves into the top half. From a Leeds perspective, unofficially we have dropped into the relegation zone, but that's only because we haven't played this game yet. If Leeds draw, we go to about 17th. If we win, we go to about 15th. So that's why I'm not showing the table. I don't want to see Leeds in the bottom 3, even if it is unofficial. So, in terms of team news, I don't know what the injuries are like or the suspensions are like at Aston Villa. So again, as always, I've gone with the players who have played the most. And so far, Martinez has played in goal the most, albeit he hasn't played every game. I think he must have had a brief injury there. Sub-keeper played a couple of games. Medicash and Lucas Digna seem to have made the full-back positions their own. Conser has been one of their main centre-backs for a little while now. Pau Torres, I believe, is a new signing from Villarreal. So he's likely to partner Conser if they're both available. Then it's difficult to tell what kind of formation they're going to go with, but ultimately Camara, McGinn and Wendia have all played quite a bit. So if they're all available, chances are they probably start. They probably go with Mallon and Rodgers on the wings, with Watkins up front. Again, this is based on the fact that these players are the players that have played the most for Villa this season. So there's not really a right lot gone into it or anything as far as this is concerned. This is just based on who's played the most for them so far. So, on to the Leeds squad. Now, for the first time with one of these match previews, I've included the entire squad because Daniel Farke has announced that the entire squad is available for the first time this season. No injuries, no suspensions. Obviously, player fitness will vary because some of these players have just come back from injury recently. However, this is good news because Farke needs the entire bloody squad. So, I've gone with what I would go with, personally. Is this what I think Farke goes with? I have no idea. I would say no, but I think that, because this is the first time that we've had the entire full squad available, it could be anything. Because the recent form's been crap. The 2 recent losses were not good. They were fairly poor performances and pretty naff results on the back of that. So, I've gone with Perry in goal. Fullbacks, Bogle and Gudmundsson pretty much speaks for themselves at fullback. I don't see Byram or Justin getting ahead of Bogle or Gudmundsson. Centre-backs, I've gone back with the original pairing that we started the season with, and the pairing that was very good last season in Roden and Strauch. As far as midfield's concerned, I've gone with a midfield 3 of Stack, Longstaff and Tanaka. I think we need a blend in this midfield, playing at home. You've got Stack that can do the defensive work. You've got Longstaff who can boss that central area of the midfield. And let's give Ao Tanaka some license to just get forward a little bit. That to me would be a nice, evenly matched blend of midfield. You've got 3 completely different types of midfielders there as well, which I think Leeds need. You can't just play, 3 of the same. And this might be a bit of a wild shout, because let's face it, we know Ampadu's going to play because he's Farke's favourite, and that's why he's captain. However, I don't think Ampadu's form has been all that great. So for me, I would try, and again, Stack's form hasn't been great either, and even Longstaff's gone off the boil a bit. It's the midfield that really has looked a bit weak in recent matches, which is a real surprise because I think we have got a good set of midfielders this season. So it is a surprise to me. However, as I say, I would go with Stack, Longstaff and Tanaka as the midfield 3, and then up front, I think just on the basis that he got a goal in the last game, it was a really good finish, I'd go with Mecha. I really would. I know that DCL gives a little bit more aerial presence, but Mecha can do that. He's big enough, he's physical enough. And as I say, that goal from Mecha was a very calm finish, just like his penalty in the first game against Everton. If you get the service up to Lucas Mecha, I think he could possibly start banging in a few goals. And then all of a sudden, DCL, who in his recent interview looked ripped, by the way, like he has seriously worked on his fitness. So if you just want a physical unit up there, then yeah, get DCL up there. Not saying that Mecha looks small, he really doesn't. For me, just on the basis that so far, on a goals to minutes ratio, Mecha absolutely outclasses DCL by quite some way. DCL has started quite a few of the games recently, and has only got 1 goal to show for it. All right, Mecha's he's only got 2 goals, so he's not streets ahead. But Mecha's played a lot less minutes. All right, one of Mecha's goals was a penalty, but you've still got to score the thing. So I don't know. You could look at it in a number of ways, but again, DCL seems like a bit of a Farke favourite. So again, I would think that he will probably play. I've then gone with Dan James and Noah Okafor either side of Mecha. Now again, I don't think he'll go with James. I think he'll go with Aronson. But if it were me, I'd get some raw pace on that wing. Get Dan James on there. Dan James, I saw something recently where Dan James's record at Elland Road over the last couple of seasons has been really good. So if he's fit enough, because he's made a few sub-apps recently, why the hell not give him a start? It's at home. We can afford to be a little bit more aggressive, afford to be a little bit more forward thinking, which again is why I've gone with that particular midfield selection as well. I just think this is I think this would be a solid 11 to put out there. I really do. On the bench, I've gone with Darlow. I've gone with Byram ahead of Justin. Don't know why. I just a little bit more experience, I guess. Sam's got the one of our own moniker, and we're in a bit of a tight situation right now, so people like Sam Byram are ideal to have in and around that squad. Biol would drop to the bench for me. Ampadu would go in as the central midfield backup for the bench. I'd keep all of the other potential attacking players available on the bench. So players like Aronson, Harrison, Nonto, DCL and Joel Pirro as well. So missing out, you've got the 2 other keepers, Melier and Keynes. Justin misses out, as does Bornau and Ilya Gruev. Nothing against those 5, by the way. Nothing against those 5 whatsoever. Bornau's only just come back from injury. Gruev hasn't played a lot of minutes recently. Justin hasn't had a massive amount of game time either. So you want your bench to be as equally fit as your first 11. Because they've got to come on, they've got to do a job. You can't bring on a slack or a sloppy player just because they need minutes. It's a really difficult conundrum. On one hand, they need minutes. On the other hand, you can't just put them on for the sake of putting them on. This is the difficulty that Daniel Farke has when he's got a fully available squad. But again, Farke will know the level of fitness of all of the players. Some of the players like Dan James, for example, who has played a good chunk of minutes recently for Wales, will have got a little bit more match fitness into his legs, which will obviously be super beneficial because again, Dan James hasn't played a lot. On the other hand, Wilfred Gnonto, who's in a similar position to James in the sense that he hasn't played much recently, he didn't get called up for any of the Italy squads, so his fitness is likely to be a little bit less than Dan James. But you would like to think that, because he has been available for a couple of weeks, that he should be fit enough for the bench. Aronson and Harrison have had, Aronson in particular has had a lot of minutes recently. Harrison a bit less so, but still enough minutes to be fit enough. Ampadu's obviously played a fair chunk, as has Briol recently as well. Byram, he's the one exception, he's not even been in the bloody squad. So I don't know what his fitness is like, but you've got to assume that he's available. And then Darlow obviously played quite a few games when Perry was unavailable. In terms of the five that have missed out, Meslier and Cairns haven't played anything. Cairns has played one under-21s game because he was deputising for the two under-21 goalkeepers whose names slipped my mind. Mahadi and the kid we got from Bradford that's just been on loan at Darlington. Ombang. I knew it had come to me. I can't believe I can't be remembering the bloody names of youth players. I watch the youth team, I watch the women's team, I watch the senior men's team, I watch every team at Leeds United. So yeah, can't believe I forgot the names there. But yeah, Mahadi and Ombang both had some recent youth loan moves. So Alex Cairns did get 90 minutes under his belt for the under-21s deputising recently. James Justin has made a couple of sub-appearances in recent times. Bornau, he's been out injured and has only just come back. Gruev, I believe, played in the international break for Bulgaria, so his fitness might be alright. But again, probably doesn't get ahead of Ampadu. Purely for the captaincy side of things as much as anything really. In terms of what the two of them are like as players, fairly even. I would say that Ampadu has a little bit more attacking nous about him, which was shown in one of the recent games where he had 2 or 3 forward runs, which we'd never seen from Ampadu before. It was quite quite nice to see. They did attempt to use Gruev a little bit further forward in a couple of friendlies, I think, in the summer, but it didn't look right. Gruev knows his strengths, which is to be a DCM. Personally, I think Ampadu's a DCM as well. I don't see him as an 8 or a 10. I don't see him as a centre back. I see him as a 6 as a DCM. I really do. So yeah, that's what I would do. That's who I would play. I don't think that my lineup's going to be anything like, quite frankly. I think the only guarantees out of the entire 11 that I've chosen there, I think the only guarantees are probably Bogle and Gudmundsson, if they're both fit enough. If they're both fit enough. Oh, and maybe Rodon. Yeah, Rodon don't miss. So yeah, I think Bogle, Gudmundsson and Rodon probably the only guarantees to start out at that 11. I do think that Okafor has shown signs that he, can be a good winger at this level. I think he really has to start. He is one of our most creative outlets, if not the most creative outlet. Longstaff's a very experienced midfielder at this level, and you could argue that maybe you know, if Ampadu and Longstaff play, then obviously you've got and DCL arguably up front as well. That you've got quite a bit of experience going in there. Then again, you could argue Byram. Byram's experienced. He's played in Premier League before. Knows Leeds inside out, doesn't he? So it's down to the manager. You know, does he throw a spanner in the work and put Joel Pirro up front? He's not going to cause any problems to the defenders physically, but he's still probably the best finisher that we have, and we need goals. But at the same time, we need to be tighter defensively, like we were in the the game against Everton and Newcastle. Very solid in those two games. Obviously, those games were very early on in the season now, but who knows? I mean, he might go with a really defensive midfield lineup of Ant and start Ethan Ampadu and Ilya Gruev. I don't know why. I don't know why he would want to, because it's stupidly defensive. You're inviting Aston Villa to attack with a defensive midfield trio or that. I think you've got to have a little bit of progression in there, and that's what Tanaka can give. And then Longstaff can boss the middle of the park, and Stack can just sit in front of the back four. That to me would work better than what we've been trying in recent matches. I think the raw pace of Dan James can give the Villa fullbacks a bit of a nightmare. I think Okafor with his creativity can also give their fullbacks a bit of a nightmare as well. If Tanaka's given that licence to get forward, I think he can get the better of the likes of John McGinn. I don't think McGinn's all that great. He's a bit of a veteran for him now, isn't he, really? But I've never rated McGinn personally. We'll have to keep Buendia quiet, but then again, Farke knows Buendia, doesn't he? So maybe that goes in Leeds' favour a little bit. But I mean, when you know, if you go down that lineup, you got Martinez, who's still Argentina's number one GK as far as I'm aware. You know, Digna's been a highly rated fullback in the Premier League for a number of years now. Marlon's been a regular in the Dutch side for a few years as far as I'm aware. Rodgers has been in really good form, hasn't he, from what I've heard? So, you know, they've got dangerous players there, but then again, it's, you know, they've been in Premier League a while, so you'd expect them to. So, yeah, that's my take on it all, folks. As I say, do I think that my 11 there is likely to start? No, I really don't. I think he'll stick with Biol over Strauch, but I don't think Biol's done all that much in recent games to say that he deserves to start. You know, he's been part of a team that's leaked a lot of goals. Strauch was part of a Leeds United lineup that was not leaking as many goals. Still leaking a few, but not as many. You know, does Metcha keep his place because he got a goal in the last game? I don't know if that's enough for him to keep his place. I think he might just bring DCL straight back in. I think he probably just sticks with Aronson on the right wing. Which again, when you've got Dan James and Wilfred Gnonto, and no disrespect to Brendan Aronson, but surely James and Gnonto provide more of an attacking outlet. We need to start trying to boss games at home a little bit more, and we've got to start being more prolific. And you can only be more prolific by playing your more attacking players. You know, Aronson and Harrison are good backups to have on the wing, but that's where they're at for me. So anyway, I'll leave that for you all to ponder, folks. I'm going to leave it there. Said I'd try and keep this a little bit shorter. So, yeah, big thank you for watching. Do please give the video a like. Do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the hype button as well if you've got that available. And also, you know, put your thoughts in the comments down below as to who you think will start for Leeds United and who will start for Aston Villa in the game happening tomorrow. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your weekend. All the best. See you next time. Bye for now.